Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bite-Size Vlog for Undertone, that latest A24 movie that came out a few weeks, not too long, and I finally got the opportunity to watch it. I came there a little bit blind to what was the audience expectation, the reviews, and because I wanted to see it for myself. I saw the trailer not too long ago, and it kind of became one of the movies that I wanted to see. I mean, A24 is always, the artsy hit and miss kind of studio that it brings out some very interesting horror, and sometimes it has opportunities to explore on different techniques of how they want to scare the audience here and there, or sometimes it gets a little bit too artsy. But you know what? That's pretty much about it. I went to see Undertone. And as you can see, I just for play, I got this. I got even this on front because, well, it's not connected, but just in case. But either way, it's because the whole movie it takes place during podcasting, by the way. Well, not necessarily is the heart of it, but it's one of the elements that there is. So, Undertone, what is it about? It's about this woman named Evie who she and his friend they communicate each other via the internet and phone calls, and she does one of those podcasting shows where they talk about horror. She's a skeptic, and he's a not too skeptic. They talk their opinion about supernatural stuff, which personally I also love to listen all those real life horror or superstitious horror podcasts once in a while. I don't know, it's entertaining. But then the guy apparently receives an email which apparently has 10 audio tracks. Okay, not apparently. It has 10 audio tracks, and they're gonna listen little by little. And the more they listen to all these audio files, which basically apparently is about a couple in which at first they think that the woman is sleep talking, and it has also some of those some of those children music that they play in the background, and apparently it has some hidden meaning when you play on reverse here and there. But the more they listen to those audio logs, something very, very sinister happened. And of course, our protagonist Evie, she also has to deal that she lives alone in her. She lives alone in her house. She lives with her mother, who she's in a coma, and well, she's kind of like having this sense of a combination between guilt and also disdain that she has to, take care of an elderly that doesn't let her get out of the house and all this stuff. And well, and of course, the podcasting is kind of like her solace. It's her way to cope with it. But apparently, this also has it's centered around the horror. And right at the get-go, I'll say that the audience were very invested in the movie. It was quite a crowd that I went there. As for me, I actually really like it. I like that movie. It was a while since I was disturbed with this movie. Especially because this movie takes advantage of the limited budget that it has, and it limits itself in some creative way. For starters, we don't see much of the actors. We only see two actors visibly, which is, of course, our protagonist, Evie, who she's played by Nina Kiri, and the mother, who was played by Michelle Duquette, and which she calls her mama. The other characters, like the guy, like her co-host Justin for the podcast, played by Adam DeMarco, we only see we only hear his voice, and there's other characters, of course, but they only hear them by voice, so they limit itself because the movie has the, how can I say, the movie wanted to rely solely on making you scared with just sounds, and the sound mixing is incredible. You really feel like, for example, you hear something and maybe it's not there. Although it also helps out with the imagery that it had. It's very artsy, I'll say. It also, in the sense that they live in this, the house is pretty big for two people. It's a little bit crummy here and there. There's also has some Christian, what was it? What was it? Some Christian symbolism. Christian symbolism that it kind of shoves it in your face, which kind of practically showcase a lot of the character. There's also the mythology. There's a mythology of that demon that is a real demon. I forgot what the name was. You know what? I'll put it here. It is an interesting mythology about a demon that try to that it revolves about envy, and it's a demon that's blamed for miscarriage of babies and all this stuff. And it particularly on the theme that there is, and because they play around with the audio, there's this sense of dread about what is going to happen. Oh, look at this and all that stuff, and the audience bought it. And there are a few jump scares here and there, but they're kind of earned it, and they don't abuse. They don't technically abuse it. It's a slow burn. It's a movie that's not gonna be for everyone. You just have to be in the mood to pay attention on the conversation and all, and listening to these audio files that little by little it integrates itself on the whole premise of the movie, and it gets disturbing, and well, it also ends up with a very intense climax. I gotta admit, the climax is. This is where things really go whoa, and well, it works. At least personally, it works. Also, yeah, if I could say the nitpick is of course the slow burn, and for me also is that for a modern house, funnily enough, in my head is, how many lamps do you need in this house? That's the thing. So because I don't want to spoil too much about the movie, this is why I decided to make it short. So I will say that Undertone, it carries the elements really, really well, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and not with just a few visual elements that you just go there, but the main point is that it's making you scared with just eerie ambient music, not music, sounds. Just because when you're alone and in the dark, well, things can really go bump in the dark. And well, when you live alone and there are dark things, you know the undertones that I'm talking about.